Well, here we are again for another edition of Neighborhood Training. We're working our way through the town of Falmouth and all the different neighborhoods, and what I'm finding at least is that a lot of these neighborhoods are roughly in the size of about 200 to 250 residents, which isn't a lot, but it just seems to be each area that we seem to focus on has that amount of residents there. And of course, predominantly we have our areas where Falmouth, where there's single-family dwellings and other industrial buildings and so forth. But now this neighborhood here is, as I'm sure you're all aware, is a very mixed neighborhood. We have obviously, and I'm not even going to go into it in this presentation at all, because I'm sure we're very well aware of all the medical and healthcare facilities that are located up on Huen Drive. Falmouth Hospital was built in, I believe it was 1961, 62. And at that time, that's all there was. Huen Drive went up the top of the hill, and that was it. And in that time, Falmouth Hospital has probably doubled or tripled its size, and then of course we've added the Gosnell, the JML, you know, and the assisted livings and parking lots and a lot more of that stuff. Which, and then what they've also done is in the mid 80s, I would say, they extended Huen Drive down, which was quite a feat at the time, but it was done by a private developer in order to open up this area down here for housing development, and which is, you know, a pretty big feat at the time. They did have access to the roads on Sippawisset to get through, but really what they wanted to do was to bring it as a draw for housing and for doctors and medical professionals. So, you know, that's kind of why they linked the two of them together. It wasn't by accident. It was on purpose in order to bring about the marketing, more or less, for the Sippawisset Highlands neighborhood. And so that's essentially that. Those houses have been there probably since the mid-80s, and that's, you know, I'm sure you've driven through there. They're all pretty good size and pretty well built and pretty well maintained single-family dwellings. I don't think there's an accessory apartment in there, and certainly not any other beyond that. And there are quite a few there. They run the gamut between capes, colonials, and so forth. There is a few built houses there that do have views over Buzzards Bay, and they are a lot larger than some of the other houses that are there. Some of them maybe in the range of 4,000 to 5,000 square feet as opposed to 2,500. But there is that road network in there, which we will go into. So that's that area. And then we also have the Burnham Drive in Hillcrest neighborhood, which was there prior to that, probably in the mid-70s. That was there, and they cut through Myrick Drive. In that same period, they did the Sippawisset Highlands and connected that through. And we will talk about that neighborhood. And then we have Drumlin Road and Goodings Way. We also have the Woodrise condominiums that went up in the 70s. And then in that period of time on Carlson Lane, there's been 2 condominium developments that have been added in that area. And there is the Carlson Printing Building, but now it's just a regular office building with a library had its temporary quarters at a small industrial building right in the tucked in the Carlson Lane. This area is fully hydranted, as we're well aware of. So we do have good water flow. There is I'm just trying to think of some other factors there, but that's about it. And it does obviously border the BB Woods complex, and there are that's one of the draws to that area as well, especially these folks that live on Punch Bowl Drive, that they really have a, you know, right in their backyard is BB Woods. So all right, we'll go along to the GIS map here, and we'll just kind of poke around a few places that are worth mentioning while we're here. Oops, what's going on here? Sorry about that. Okay. All right. Okay. As we mentioned previously, that this section of Route 28 is called West Falmouth Highway, and right at that intersection there by the pumping station is number 5 and number 3 West Falmouth Highway, and you see right across the street though is 640 and 664. Those are Palmer Avenue numbers, and West Falmouth Highway starts at that terminus there. So we have 16 is the Gateway Apartments, and then 32 is what we used to call the Baker Apartments. I don't know who owns it now, but there are a few apartments in this older building right here. So we will take a look at that in a little while. But this this corridor here of Palmer Avenue and West Falmouth Highway through here, we will be getting into more multi-family apartments. There are quite a few houses here on Palmer Avenue when we spend some more time there that have accessory apartments or little cottages and so forth. So we have to keep that in mind with our fire protection and also the rescue. Also in this area here, we'll see we have Carlson Lane. I know we've been down there quite a few times for rescues. Here's that really fairly small office building right in here, and then we have the Woodneck Hills condominiums and the Sipworset Hills condominiums. Each have their own separate numbered addresses. One's 37, I believe, and one is about, I think it's 51, Carlson Lane. But that's where that zoning in that area allows that to occur. And then don't forget, we have the bike path that runs right through here, so we are able to get access to the bikeway pretty easily. And you notice these are probably one of the strongest hydrants I've seen so far in the town. They're in the 1,200 gallon a minute range, so that's pretty interesting. We don't have too many there, probably because they're so close to the pumping station. And as we go up Palmer Ave, we have Goodings Way, about 4 or 5 houses there. Now at the end of Goodings Way right here, there's a gate. It's fenced in for a back access to Woodrise. I don't believe we've ever used it, but just be advised, if we need to use it or somehow or another, we can get access to that area. And I know we have gone into the Woodrise development for quite a few rescues, but we have had one significant fire that I believe occurred in one of these condos around here. If you ask Captain Marshall, and I believe, I can't remember too many other people that were there, but it burned out a second floor of a middle unit of the condo, and I believe they attributed it to plumbing work that had been done up on a heater up in the, apparently they had, at the time they had heaters were up in their attic spaces, and there had been some work done up there, and that's what caused the fire in there. But anyway, we have Goodings Way and then Drumlin Road. Drumlin's pretty straightforward, cul-de-sac type of development. No real surprises in there. And we'll go down, and now we will work in the Burnham Drive neighborhood and just work through there. It's a little tricky to find your way through, and they purposely keep Burnham Drive with a bunch of potholes and so forth, so they don't want people cutting through. So that's the reason why they don't really fix the road up there, because they don't want people cutting through. But we have Burnham. Now Burnham runs down and runs over to this cul-de-sac over here. I believe we had a fire in one of these houses back not too many years ago. The house under construction. We have Shanks Pond Road, and then Hillcrest runs around right here, and then we have Myrick that cuts across from Terhune. These are all single-family dwellings. They're pretty accessible, pretty straightforward, nothing real tricky in there. Then we end up working into the Sipworth Highlands neighborhood, which can be a little tricky. And one thing I want to point out right away is that at the foot of Closed Drive, right at Sipworth Road, is a gate that's closed all the time. There is a Knox box on it, I believe, on the, I guess you'd call it the north side of the gate is a Knox box, and we are able to get through it, obviously. And there is a gate there, so it's not something we can just cut a chain and get through. But Closed Drive runs up off Sipworth and runs up to these houses up in here. And I know we're all aware of it, but just so we don't get messed up on dispatching and so forth, this section here was never cut through, so it probably never will be. But it may show on a map that you could go through, but it's not, obviously not possible, and I'm sure our dispatch people are right on top of that. From Closed Road, we have Clear Pond Road, and then we have Beechwood, runs up into here, Clear Pond. So that side of it's not too bad. You have Clear Pond, Beechwood, and Close. And then on the opposite side you have Gregory, which is a short little cul-de-sac road. And then you have Kinghorn and Punch Bowl that run in this section here. They call this on the map Deep Pond, but everybody knows it as the Punch Bowl, so that's why they call it Punch Bowl Drive. One thing we need to be aware of in all of our maps and so forth when we put them out, and I'm going to see if I can plug this map in to show it, is driveways. Here we go. We'll refresh it with some driveways. And this is why it's important for our dispatch map to show all this stuff, is that these houses down in here are all accessed by a single driveway coming down here with a hydrant, and then breaks off into three separate driveways, sub-driveways to these, to 58, 60, and 62. So they're set back quite a ways off the road, and whereas every other house here is pretty close to the road and pretty easy to access, we're not able to do that in that area. We'll just bring up quickly the town GIS map. And that really just shows, an overview. Quickly with that, we see that there's, mains everywhere we go. There's no real, nothing really, surprising in that area. The only thing that we would want to show is that where Woodrise gets their water from. Not that much of a excitement, but they get their water from Sipwissa Road and through the back there instead of from Palmer Ave. So their mains up there should be pretty good, and there's quite a few condos up in there. Alright, enough of that. Let's see. I know what we'll do. We'll go look at some pictures of the area. I'm not even, like I mentioned before, I'm not even going to touch on the medical buildings up in there. First of all, we'll look at the apartment at, I believe it's number 6, West Falmouth Highway. As you can see here, it's a wood frame structure. This is kind of set back off of the road, and it is tucked into the trees there. And these apartments have been here for quite a long time. It looks like it used to be a single-family home, and now it's, as you can see here right off the bat, where we got 6 apartments into this one, probably 2,500 square foot building. And one thing that, since this building was converted from a single-family home to an apartment building, there may not be as good a fire separation and compartmentalization as there may be in a newer apartment building. So anticipate with this, if we do have a fire in this type of building here, that anticipate that that condition, that we may have a quicker extension into some of these other apartments. And as you can see, it's maybe a little hard to figure out which apartment door goes to which apartment. One may come in and then go upstairs. One may go in and go into a first floor apartment. It's the same thing with the like 371 Palmer Avenue. If you drive by across some place like Seafood Sam's in that area by the hospital corner, you really have to look at it, try and figure out which doors go to which apartments. But anyway, that's what we're up against with the building of that nature. And this building here is the Gateway condos, which I'm sure we're all pretty much familiar with. It shows a pretty dark picture, but I just wanted to point out that these used to be apartments and now they're condos, and they're set up pretty good and they're being taken care of pretty well at this point here. And they are addressed pretty well, and they apparently have a West Falmouth Highway address. Those don't look like apartment unit numbers, since they're all on the same side of the street, right? They're on the even numbered side of West Falmouth Highway. The opposite side of the street is odds, this side of the street is evens, and so it looks like they have West Falmouth Highway numbers. And then just wanted to come to the rear of the building just to look and see how the rear of the building is set up. Obviously got pretty good access up top. Even though it looks like we may have access all the way down, we're going to have to do some work to get through. Let's say we had a rescue, or we had fire or something coming out of this building here, and we thought, oh, we could access it by going up these stairs, or we got to cut through or break through each one of these stockades, or put a ladder up there in order to get access to it. So now each unit also has this basement area here as well, and here is all the electric meters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, looks like about 9 of them there. So in the up top we have a flat roof, kind of a commercial building style flat roof, even though from the front it looks like a residential style. It's more of a commercial type structure. We want to go briefly. This is the Woodneck Hills condominium. Looks like they're duplexes for the most part. That basically just goes around in a circle. It's very probably, I mean, there's a good amount of density there. There's probably 6 of these duplexes here around the horseshoe-shaped lot. Okay, and next we will look at the Sipworset Hills, 51 Carlson Lane. These ones here are duplexes and triplexes, and they look like they're pretty well maintained. You won't see anything that's really have 4 units in there because of we have to have a sprinkler law in order to get 4 units in there. So most people don't want to do that. So this is a house here that's on Burnham Drive. It was I just thought it was a little bit more unusual than most of the buildings. This will be more of a contemporary type building as opposed to the others are capes and colonials and so forth. You know, it looks like a multi-level. Go in this door, up the stairs, but it looks like it's 3 levels, 1, 2, 3 level right off the bat. You know, where would you say your bedrooms would be? Where would you say the living room would be? Got this basement level, 2-car garage with a basement level down here. You know, those are the things to think about. The skylight here and a window over here. Is this one big room, or is this a room by itself and the bedrooms are here, or a living room here? Just something to think about. In the deck, obviously a deck access over here. It's those little things when we drive by a house, just try and pick out those little things. And this one here is just your typical colonial. This is one that's in, I believe it was on Gregory Lane or Punch Bowl. Pretty good size. You know, a lot of fire load there, a lot of BTUs coming out of there, but you probably 3,000 square foot building. And take a look here. We're going to go through I think a couple of these on Woodrise. There's not too many of them. This is kind of typically the way Woodrise is set up. They're very well labeled. As you can see over here, they're very well labeled with their numbering system up there. They all have a garage, a multiple vehicle garage bay with a storage closet or facility in the back of each of the garage bays. And then in the back here is the condo units. Now these were built in the 70s, so some of the units are 4 units, are what they call quadplexes without a sprinkler system. Nowadays, if you build a quadplex, you have to have a sprinkler system. But this was built in the probably in the 70s and mid 80s, where you did not have to do that. And this is just typical the way it's, you know, set up. The condo itself is set back off of the road, set back into the woods. And I think I have one more photograph here, but I think it's pretty much the same. Yeah, it's just the same same view anyway. But those are the real advantage I can see there here is they're well taken care of. They're well numbered. They're numbered right out the street. There are quite a few hydrants up in there, so we shouldn't have too much of a problem. The big issue here is when you think about it, okay, we pull in with the engine and we park right here in the center. There's going to be almost zero access for the ladder truck at all. So it may behoove us that we get something, just as the you know, if the officers there, they should be thinking about this, but if they're not, we should be, as a firefighter level, you can think about this, is perhaps maybe not parking the engine into the parking lot if you actually have a fire, leaving it out on the road and bringing in the water thief, even though it's a lot more work, keeping that water thief off to the side and keeping this area here open for the ladder so they can just pull in, because every one of these condos is set up. This is a typical setup. This is what you got. So this may be our only access for the ladder, and we may actually need the ladder because we do have a pretty long roof line up here, and the middle unit is actually up about 2.5 stories. So something to keep in mind, just that extra thought when we do get a fire situation. All right, just a quick review of the Huen Drive and Woodrise neighborhood. Like I say, we've got medical and healthcare facilities up there. With the exception of the medical healthcare, everything else is wood frame. With the couple of more exceptions, with the wood frame, we have that building on Carlson Lane, that commercial building, and also the Gateway condominiums. That's built more of a commercial type construction. I wouldn't be surprised if that's a non-combustible building with the steel bar joists and so forth. This area here does have condos and apartments. These are just the condos that are there. 32 West Falmouth Highway is at Baker Apartments there. These are the roads that we have in that area. This is the Sipworth Highlands neighborhood. This is the Burnham Drive neighborhood. And then Drumland, Goodings Way, Woodrise, and Carlson Lane. Our travel time, Station 1, is going to be 2.6 miles. This is for a address, I believe, on Burnham Drive. So kind of really in the middle. Station 4, not surprising, just slightly longer. And Station 2, a little bit longer, having to come around there. But basically, 4 and 1 will work right in there, and headquarters will get in there quick. And then Station 4 will be the second due piece and be grabbing the hydrant, because headquarters will have laid in and positioned themselves well. And Station 2 will be just behind that, and 3 and 5 are quite a bit more down the road, nearly 6 miles for each. Okay, that about wraps that up for the Huen Drive and Burnham Drive neighborhood. Hope that was helpful. In the meantime, stay safe and eat healthy.